right. Y'all ready?
Yep, we are.
There's plenty of food back there, so if you're hungry, go back through and get some more. Wanted to thank all of you for coming out today. This is a nice day, and I know people have probably had other things they'd like to do, but we appreciate you coming. Thanks to all the agents for coordinating it and getting the food. And this is first part of a three-part series. So we're going to talk a little bit today about estrus synchronization, heifer developments, and some of that. Then on the 9th, we'll be back down. Dr. Anderson will be AI in the heifers that will go down and synchronize. And then on the 10th of June, roughly 4 weeks later, we'll come back and we'll do preg checks. And we're going to show you how to use the alerts, the IDEX alerts blood test to do those. So this whole program is designed or developed around a grant that we put in for kind of innovative extension efforts and using technology and adopting technology. So we're going to try to expose you to a few different things. I know Jessica had mentioned that they use wireless cameras. So we've got a wireless camera over there that's really cheap off of Amazon that we're going to get the farm crew to install down here in the barn. I'm supposed to have that in there anyways, because that way we can check on the cattle that are in there at any time. So we're going to get that installed. And that one is a wireless one, so you've got to have it within Wi-Fi connectivity. But then the nice thing is once it's connected to Wi-Fi, then I can access that on my cell phone anywhere. And so we're going to work on getting it set up, and we don't know right now if we've got to get a Wi-Fi booster to get from here down to the barn, but we'll find that out this week. So we're going to expose you to that camera. Once we get it up and going, we'll show you, because that has the opportunity for allowing you to be able to be at work, and if you've got cattle that are beginning to calve, you can hop on and check things out if they're in a kind of confined area. And so we're using the barn down here, the hoop barn. Some of you have been here when we had the backgrounding calves in there last year, and so this year we're using it to pull these heifers through and develop these heifers and get them bred. The other technologies that we're going to show you is the, like I mentioned, the IDEX alerts, which is the tail bleeding for pregnancy diagnosis, and that's going to scale up and a little bit larger. So we'll actually send some preg kits home with you all. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about CEDARS, which is a technology that's been around since, what, the 90s?
90s. Actually was part of the FDA approval trials.
There you go.
They got approved in 95, but we started using them in 1990.
So we'll talk a little bit about that. Several of you probably know about those, and those that don't know how they're used, Dr. Anderson's going to discuss that with you. You've got handouts that cover a lot of the topics that we're going to go through, and then as we go through the next couple, if we see some other that we think may be useful, we'll pull those out too. But you should have the three primary ones here to go back and kind of read up and study a little bit on those. And I think we always get questions about what's it cost and economics, and so Dr. Anderson has a nice one on there about economics of artificial insemination, and so I think that's a good one to go back and study too. The other technology that we're going to share with you, and where we're just talking about how we're going to get it up there, we're going to do the cow manager system, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. It's maybe out of the price range for some folks, depending, like we were talking about calf markets and that. If you can save a few calves, it may wind up paying for itself quicker. That's the way with anything, right? When calf markets are high, you can recover your costs and pay for those things a little bit faster. But we're gonna get it set up probably next week, or when we come back through and we do the breedings, we'll get it going. Some of the heifers down there already have tags in, and we were looking at them this morning, and some of them have been ripped out. So we'll replace those tags, and we'll tell you a little bit about what that system does. But basically, it's pretty cool. It's got a couple of accelerometers in there, and it measures and monitors changes in activity in normal behavior versus estrus behavior versus parturition. And again, the nice thing with that is it sends signals or notifications to your cell phone, and so you can get an idea of when cattle are coming into estrus. And I'll let Dr. Anderson go into more detail on that as we go through it. We've tried to use it in class in the backgrounding calves for early detection of sickness. And I'll be honest, it's not worked very well for that because it wasn't designed and developed for that. And we've had a struggle getting it to really work well. You can kind of see some blips on some things, but I wouldn't say it's that accurate. And the other challenge I have is it takes 7 days to establish a baseline for normal behavior. And when we're buying in calves in backgrounding programs, they'll begin to get sick typically in that 5-day to 7-day window. And if their behaviors change during that time when it's established in baseline, that kind of messes up the next couple readings in that. So it's not maybe that effective for that yet. Not saying that they can't develop the algorithms and get them a little bit improved and they'll become more effective. It's just not that good, right?
And they're not interested in. I mean, it's developed for tie stall dairy, and European tie stall dairy even, so a little different than the U.S. and their main market is European tie stall dairy, and it's very accurate there. I mean, their data is really accurate in that situation. Cattle that are in confinement in the U.S., beef cattle, estrus is really, really accurate. Parturition, actually, it's really accurate. Everything else, nah.
So it'll be something that we want to share with you because the more of us that are working full-time jobs and farming on the side, that technology, it sends you an alert that, all right, I've got heifers that are coming into heat, then I know to line up an AI technician and get them out there and get things ready to go. Or if I'm at work and I look at it and see that, oh, there's a cow that looks like she's been calving and it's been a few hours, I maybe ought to take off work and run home and check and see what's going on.
When you combine it with the video, okay, so what you do is, cattle activity varies very routinely every day, okay? And so what this thing does is it knows what the normal is, and when something is abnormal, then it gives you an alert. Okay, well, you can combine that with the video. So if a cow's getting ready to calve and you get a heat alert, that means something unusual is occurring. And then you pull up your video, you hit click, oh, yep, she's calving. And if you're stuck at work and you got a neighbor that can go, or mom can go out and look or whatever, but you can, the guy that really has kind of pioneered this for us in just commercial beef cattle operations, Tom Moore, up in Bracken, Pendleton County, he loved it. I mean, he was a one-man show, 200 cows in semi-confinement, and it cut his labor costs. I mean, his personal labor, it was a cost, but his personal labor, it cut it in half. As he said, he just gets up in the morning, he flips his phone up, figures out who's in heat, figures out who's calving, go checks those. It doesn't have to go through each cow individually every single day. And so he loved it. And in a situation like with these Heifers down here, that's ideal. We'll have pinpoint accuracy, and plus you can all be able to double check it with the video. As soon as you get an alert, crack the video down. Aha, yep. K10 is in heat or whatever, and then you can set off and breed her, or that she's not pregnant, right? If she was in heat, so because that's what we'll be picking up here. Is we'll be picking up the second cycle, and so we'll be able to figure out the return estrus.
So the challenges with some of the technology is introduction to cost and paying for it. The other thing is coverage. And so these technologies work really well in confined area where the equipment can cover the area the livestock are going to be in. You're not going to be able to pick up anything with that camera if they're in the back 40, right? And so that's one of the limitations with camera systems and that. That camera, though, you also have to have Wi-Fi connectivity. But you can use, there are some things out today, I know Dr. Anderson uses some of the game cameras that have a cell phone, basically a receiver in them, and you can buy cards to get cell service in them, and you can use that game camera. But you can do the same thing kind of with these, as you can set them up on a AT&T or Verizon or whatever Bluegrass cell service is over here, and you can try and get those set up that way to cover through your Wi-Fi to be able to get them accessible in maybe more remote areas. So there's some things that we can do technology-wise that maybe we hadn't been able to do previously, because some things have gotten a little bit, well, technology tends to come down in price. There are some more expensive cameras out there. In the one group we're working with, the same program over in kind of the Somerset area. One of the agents has a more expensive, I think it's Barn Owl or something like that system. Really nice, they work really well, but they're more expensive, $1,500 to $2,000 or so for a system like that. That camera there, I think, was about $60, and so you get what you pay for in some of those things. But down here in the barn system, where we don't have to really go far, and we've got cell service and we've got Wi-Fi signal between either this facility or the one down by the shop, we'll be able to pick that up. And so that's why we're wanting to share that with you, because a lot of you at home may have barns that with a Wi-Fi booster, you could get the Wi-Fi signal out to the barn and be able to use a camera like that. And if you got 30 cows and you know that there's 4 or 5 of them that are starting to look like they're going to calve, they're bagging up and that, you can bring them up in maybe a smaller pen closer to the barn where the cameras are going to be there, and kind of watch them for the next couple of days and then kick them back out. So that's kind of an overview of the program, and give you a rough idea on that. And then the other thing I just want to mention is the agents just did a program on breeding sinus exams on the bulls. That last week sounds like everything went well. Y'all said you had 40.
Wow.
You had 15. So good numbers there, and so that's something else that I think that they may think about continuing on in the future. So be thinking about that. Unfortunately, this is the time when you don't want any cows coming up open when the calf markets are where they're at right now, right? So making sure the bull is going to be sound before you turn him in is something that we all should be thinking about. Developing heifers. So we've got a little bit different situation down here. These are heifers that came from the UK farm over at Versailles. And these heifers were heifers that were developed to be bred for fall calving and wound up not settling. And so we were looking at needing some heifers for this project here. And so we decided that what we would do is we would just pull 6 of the heifers that were open and bring them down here to get them ready to get bred for spring calving. And so it worked out really well for us, because why would we think about doing that? Is a bred heifer worth more money than an open heifer? Maybe, depends on the market. But right now, I think, given where the markets are at, that we'll probably add more value on these heifers by selling them back as bred heifers. And so particularly if we can sell them as AI bred heifers. So we'll do that, because we have no interest in retaining spring calving at Versailles. Maybe for the program, preg check school or something like that. But to be honest, they don't fit our system, so we'll more than likely wind up selling them. But we can add value to them. And that's what we need to be thinking about as we go through a lot of this, is what can you do at home to add value to your cattle before you market them. And sometimes it's taking heifers that were open and holding them a little bit longer, but you need to pencil it out. The extra feed and resources and time that you have in that, is it going to bring you some money back to it? Cull cows. Cull cows are bringing pretty good money, right, Chad? And especially if they're in good condition, and you're looking at being able to say, well, I've got some cows here that are maybe a little bit on the thin side. Can I hold them for 45 to 60 days and put another 100, 150 pounds on them, and not only get the additional value from the weight gain, but also because maybe they jump up and you get a little bit better and you get another dime because they've got a little more flesh, going to have better yield, better cutability on them. But you always want to make sure that that value that you're going to get back out of it is going to cover the additional costs. So don't ever forget that. Feed costs and hay shortages this year has made that cost of gain a little bit higher, and it's got to balance out with the value that you're going to get. And I think this year the value is actually there. Chad, you said $1.20 on some of those cows. Was that about right?
Well, we had a black one that weighed 1,200 pounds that brought $1.22. Red one that weighed 1,275 brought $1.37. She brought 17.46. And a Charolais weighed 1410 brought $1.19. She brought 16.77. On that same day, I seen an 1,850 pound open cow sell for $1.40. She brought 25.90. This was about last Wednesday at Mount Sterling.
So the thing to remember is that even on the cull cows, it takes the same amount of labor and same amount of time for that packing plant to process that cow that's going to yield 40% versus that cow that's going to yield 55%. And so if they're a little heavier condition, a little heavier weight, and they're going to yield a little bit more, they're able to pay just a little bit more for them because they've got a sunk amount of investment in processing that animal. So if you can get those 3, 4 body condition score cows up to 5, 6s and do that economically, they're typically going to pay you more for that. And so that's one of the things we can think about on those cull cows. So on developing heifers then, these heifers are going to be pretty good shape because they were already targeted for breeding for fall. But I want you to think about target body weight. So what is the target body weight for breeding heifers? If we think about trying to say a heifer needs to reach a % of mature body weight, what do we usually say they need to reach?
75%.
It's actually about 2/3 or about 65% of mature body weights, okay? And so if you've got, 12 to 1,400 pound cows, we're looking somewhere in the
875.
Yeah, 800 to 900 pound range as a target for breeding. I think a lot of people underestimate the mature weights of their cows, and they probably don't develop their heifers at a high enough rate of gain to achieve that target breeding weight when they're ready to get them bred. And so they have maybe a little higher % of opens in their heifers than what they would like. So remember that. And then also remember that the expectation is that she's going to continue to grow, and she should hit 80% of her mature weight by the time she drops that calf, 80 to 85%. So we want, and that's not including the fetus and the amniotic fluid and everything else. That's just her weight herself. So you want to make sure that those heifers continue to gain weight after you turn them in and get them bred. And why is that important? If they're not gaining and they're not continuing to develop, what's going to happen when they go to try and calve? They're not going to be very big. And if they're not framing up and they're not growing, what's going to happen to that birth canal area? It'll continue to be a little bit smaller, all right? The other thing is that we know from the work that first calf heifers do not produce as much colostrum, and they don't produce as many antibodies to go into the colostrum as mature cows because they're diverting nutrients to try and keep growing themselves. And so when you don't continue to keep them on a higher or good plane of nutrition, then you are also sacrificing the potential health and passive immunity of that first calf coming out of her. And so they're going to be more susceptible to scours, they're going to be more susceptible to summer respiratory, and they may not be as thrifty when they get up. You also don't want to go to the other extreme and get them too heavily fleshed, because if they get too fleshy and they start getting into that body condition score 8s, 9s, then you're going to get fat in that pelvic area or in that birthing canal, and that's going to actually make the opening smaller. The other downside of that we don't think about on beef animals, we talk a lot about on dairies, but you will also get fat deposits in the udder. And there was some good work done back in the 70s and 80s that shows that if we develop beef heifers too quickly and they develop fat deposits in their udder, their entire lifetime productivity will be reduced because they won't produce as much milk, and so the calf will be lighter at weaning, and that is impacted over the entire life of the cow. So you also want to be careful on these heifers. So what would be a good target body condition score then for heifers at breeding time? So 1 to 9 is our range. 1's extremely thin, 9's extremely obese. Reads throughout 6. 5, 6s. So in heifers, we like to be a little bit heavier than cows. 5, 6 is where we like to be on the cows. Probably 6, 7s on the heifers. I'm more of a fan of a heavy 6. Dr. Anderson likes them at 6.999, I think.
I like when we start the breeding process, I like them at 5.5, which is why I was smiling. So somewhere between 5 and 6, not poning up yet, but getting close. And by the time we get done breeding, I want them to be 6. Okay, because I want them to gain weight during, and not a ton, but you're talking about 35 to 40 pounds over a 40 to 50 day window, right? I mean, so you're not killing them with gain, but I want them gaining during, so if we start off at that 5.5, again, just not quite poning, and finish at 6, that's the ideal situation for heifers for me. And I actually prefer a body condition score guide for heifer development compared to weight. I mean, I like, we got to hit our target weight, but really what really tells me that I'm going to be successful is when we start at just a little over 5 and finish at 6 or just a little above.
So the key on that, and all the research would say, cows, heifers, etc., that if you keep them in a positive plane of nutrition, and they are actually gaining a little bit of weight, that your reproduction is going to be a lot better. Fertility will be improved. And so that's one of the things that we don't tend to see in mature cows, particularly spring calvers, is they tend to drop calves now and they start lactating and they're doing pretty good, but then as it gets a little bit coarse, the grass gets a little coarser, the quality begins to decline because it gets a little more mature and the heat starts coming in. We tend to see those cows actually go into a negative energy balance and start losing body condition score. And then that's when we start potentially running into the negative effects on fertility. So we want them to be in a positive plane of nutrition to maximize that fertility and reproductive success.
What I've always seen the challenge is somebody that's got spring heifers, trying to retain those heifers, and actually get them bred to be spring calf, and then kind of back and get them rebred so they stay on that cycle. And actually somebody that has the herding facilities that have spring and fall both, that stress is a little bit easier because it doesn't matter which way you go. But my question on research, and I know it takes more labor, has it shown anything that instead of spring calf and cow, instead of coming back and trying to breed that calf in the spring to get on a spring cycle, to let it go, have an offset fall calf and cow so that know that it's easier to come back and get with that extra time of growth, then get her back on cycle with your cows on the second season, say over a 10-year run, instead of having to fight that, getting her bred back that second time. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. So the question really is, so if we had a first calf heifer that dropped a calf, they're usually the hard ones to get rebred because they're still trying to grow to mature size. Now they're lactating and nursing a calf. Can we hold off breeding them? And if we're in a split calving season, spring and fall, can we hold off 6 months basically and roll that cow into the fall calving herd to get her to have a higher chance of getting pregnant? And yes, it certainly is going to improve that. We looked at it a little different, right? The calving versus at 24 months versus 30 months. There's a lot of work that was done 40 years ago on that, right?
Yeah. Yep. You over the lifetime of the cow, you gain 0.6 of a calf, calving them at 24 and keeping them at 24. What I would challenge you to do is to go ahead and try to breed them, and then the ones that don't breed roll over, because that versus taking the loss on that whole group, and I wish I had the data for you, but at Princeton and at Versailles at Woodford County, Our best group for rebreeds are our 2-year-olds. Okay, we've hit routinely in the 80% on our fixed timed AI. And this year we had 1 2-year-old out of 26 or whatever at Woodford that didn't rebreed, and 2 out of 25 at Princeton that didn't rebreed. And I know we have the 6 open heifers down here, but the reason that we're successful with the 2-year-olds is I don't keep the hard breeders. You know, the ones that are down there, 3 of those 6, we checked pregnant at 30 days. And on Cow Manager, they did not come in heat, but they were open, so they lost them. And the other 3 were open. And those 6 would have been late calving 2-year-olds, and that's the problem.
One thing, and what is your opinion on this, that I've seen from personal level, is the fence line feeder systems is making it easier, at least for me, to get heifers rebred, because they're not having to fight for the nutrition in the field versus the traditional, take them 1 row of hay out, all cows trying to eat it. Whereas if you're pulling multi-rows into a fence line feeder, not everybody's fighting and having to eat at the same time. It's making it easier to retain and raise and grow heifers.
And just maintain. So the point on that Chad's trying to make is that the heifers are going to be pushed away from feed resources by the mature cows. And particularly if you don't have enough bale space with the traditional ring feeders that the timid heifers can get up and eat, then they may not do as well, maintain a body condition score in that as if they have plenty of access to the nutrients and they don't have to fight. And that certainly is true. You know, you have that opportunity to, doesn't have to be a fence line feeder. It can be simply putting out more bales so that the timid heifers always have access and they don't have to compete and they don't have to be there and afraid to go up and eat. They'll go up and eat whenever they want. And so it doesn't have to be that way. But yes, and coming back to the other point on that is, I think Dr. Anderson made, it's 6/10 of a calf over the lifetime, going from calving at 24 months to 30 months. I don't know that there's been a lot of work looking at cows that have calved at 24 months and holding them. And the reason for that is that the cost of that, because now she's a bigger cow, her maintenance costs are going to be higher. And so I would agree 100% with Dr. Anderson. Try to get them bred. The other question you have to ask yourself is she then going to be a harder breeder the rest of her life and you've just given her a pass? Or the other thing, system-wise, remember, our systems are very different at Woodford County than what they're going to be in a spring calving fescue-based system. These are fall calvers that go and get corn silage in the winter. And so they're maintained on a little bit different plane of nutrition and have that opportunity to meet their nutritional requirements, and probably are in.
They're bred on grass, though.
They are bred on grass, and we do a good job of maintaining stockpile grass up until a lot of years, January, February. So they have a higher plane of nutrition as well, because of that stockpile fescue is going to be better than our average hay quality that we would put up in most operations. And that's a little different, Chad, than coming into these spring calving herds that had probably subpar nutrition for a growing heifer, and that's going to drop a calf and maybe drop it in March because we're calving a little early, and that hay's testing 8% protein and maybe 52 TDN, and she needs something that's closer to 10, 11% protein and closer to 60% TDN. So she's automatically pulling body stores off to support lactation. So yeah, all those things come into play on trying to get them rebred. So remember, try to keep that plane of nutrition positive. Dr. Anderson mentioned on these first calf heifers, start at 5.5, ramp them up through, keep them gaining weight through breeding. Come back in then at preg check time, and we should be up by a 6 for sure.
For sure.
If not a little bit better. And try not to get them over a 7 by calving. Any questions on that? So I want you to think about that when we go down and we look at the heifers, because I want you to body condition score them. And so if you have phones and you don't know all the body condition scores, I rarely promote company things. but I do like this one. It's by Crystal Licks. It's called Beef Cow BCS, and it's an app that you can download on your smartphone. And when you download this, the thing that I like about it is you can take pictures of it, and it actually will record. You can take a picture of a cow, put her ID number in, and it will keep track of that for you. But more importantly, is it gives you reference pictures for the different body condition scores. And so if you're not really sure, you can flip through, and there's a little bar here, and you just slide it over, and you can body condition score 8, and look at that Hereford cow. You can scroll down to that body condition score 3, and it helps you get your eye trained a little bit. Dr. Anderson's got a good pub on body condition scoring that the agents can get for you all. It's got some pictures in the very back, and it also has some descriptions on what they should feel like when you go in and
We've
palpate
got a couple
them.
of YouTube, at least one YouTube.
Yep, we got a YouTube video out there too if you search it. But that's a good little handy app, and then you'll have it too, or you can use different software like Stockit or whatever, and you can take a picture and then add that picture to that cow record and do it that way too. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Anderson then, and he's going to jump in on AI and synchronization.
Dr. Lemcooler gave you 3 publications. There's actually like 10 or 11 that will be coming out as soon as our AgCom gets it done. The one we're going to spend any time on right now is the one that's just Estrus Synchronization protocols for beef females. I'm going to be concise, and we're going to skip to the only one I use in heifers, and that's the one we're using today. Okay? I didn't put page numbers on there, so flip through there. Flip down when you see 5-day PG plus cedar.
It's figure 5.
That is the only thing I use in heifers. It's the only thing I'll recommend to use in heifers. I am biased. We developed it. You're not going to find it in any of the books. We have used this for 15 years. We've been disappointed one season in 15 years, and I'm not sure it was a protocol. Okay? We routinely hit in the 60s. Occasionally in the 70s for our heifers, and particularly if we do our vaccination protocols appropriately, we're very happy with this system. It's the only one I will ever use in heifers for the rest of my career. Okay? Highly recommend it, and that's the one we're using here today. It involves inserting a cedar device into the heifers. This is the cedar device. It's just a piece of plastic, molded plastic, that has progesterone, a kind of powdered form of the actual hormone progesterone on the plastic. Okay? Not going to hurt any of us. I don't care. Give me a little bump maybe later on testosterone, right? But it's not gonna hurt me at all. To put it in the heifer, we bend the wings up. I have a little applicator tube, and we're going to bring more applicator tubes next time, so we can give these out. There's a groove here. Groove up, tail down, up, down. All right. Slip it in. There's even little notches on that deal. So, I mean, it's kind of dummy proof, which is good because most of us physiologists need that. All right, we get it like that. Tail down. We want the tail down because it's going to go in, and we want it to hug the rear end like that. Okay, if your cattle are in dry lot, which these are, and the tail's sticking up, for whatever reason, that wagon makes these bored cattle intrigued, and they'll literally grab that with their mouth and pull it out. Okay, which seems weird, but it is a fact. Okay, there's actual research, a published research article that shows that. So we want the tail down, hugging their rear end, particularly when the cattle are in semi-confinement or in confinement. Put some lube on. We'll show you how to do it, and you guys will get a chance to do it. Go up just about the first 2 or 3 inches to get over where the urethra dumps into the vagina. Get over that ridge. will go down to the cervix, push the plunger, okay? That sticks out. That'll catch the vaginal wall, and when you pull the tube out, the string hangs out the vulva, okay? And the body fluids soak up the hormone, and as long as this is in them, they're not coming in heat. Okay, this will prevent estrus. And so what do you think you do when you're ready for them to come in heat? Pull the string. Okay, remove the cedar. Now, this was originally designed to induce anestrus cows, those that are not cycling, to cycle. And it is the perfect biological application for anestrus females. Not really that good in cycling females. So we normally include shots when we're trying to AI. For heifers, the GnRH shot isn't worth a hoot. And that's why in our system we don't give GnRH up front. Okay, follicles in heifers grow weird, and GnRH only works in some classes of follicles, and it sets us up in situations that aren't aren't conducive for high fertility. So we just put the cedar in. Okay, we're going to wait 5 days. If we count today as 0 and tomorrow is day 1, then we go to day 5. We'll pull this out and give a shot of prostaglandin. Lutelyse is what I think we're probably going to use. And the heifers that have a CL, that'll regress the CL. The ones that don't have a CL, we'll pull the cedar out, and that'll progesterone go away, and we'll very accurately synchronize heifers. We'll probably get some in heat at 48 hours, okay? But of the 6, we'll probably get 1, and the other 5 will be in heat somewhere between 60 and 72, and we'll breed at 72, okay? That's the plan on the cedars. You will have an opportunity to put these in. That's why we're doing this, so you have an opportunity to practice on our cattle and not on your own. It's so simple a nutritionist can do it.
I can do it.
I'm serious, Arch. I'm serious. It's so simple a nutritionist can do it. The other thing we're going to do while we're down there is we're going to put on these estrus detection patches. All right, and I get the question all the time, well, why in the world are you putting on a patch when you're doing fixed time to AI? I love to see red patches, man. You know, because what you do, this is an Estrotech patch, and you can use any brand. This has just happened to be the one that I have. Okay, it's just like a scratch off that you get at the gas station or the grocery store. We're going to put this on their tail head. When they get rubbed, when one of the other heifers mounts, the chest will rub off the gray part, and we know when she's coming heat. All right, and the reason I like them, even in fixed time to AI, is when I see a ton of red patches, I know it's not the cow. Okay, if we happen to have a problem, it's not the cow. Okay, and I know it's not the technician. So then I blame the semen, right? Right, Chad? That's right. Okay, but these give me there are a million things that can go wrong breeding cattle. It's just checks a box for me, and they're $1. You know, and when they first came out, Jeff, we would actually cut them in half, which, you know, it just tells you how cheap I am, right? But, you know, and I don't recommend you do that, but for $1, and every time you see a red patch, we do not have to give GnRH when we breed. So if the GnRH costs you $4 and a patch costs you $1, and 75% of them are in heat, you're saving $3 on 75% of your cattle, right? So red patches, no GnRH, gray patch, GnRH. And
you want to explain where that is on here?
I'm sorry?
You want to explain that on when you're talking about GnRH on there?
Okay, so if you roll up to the top there, the 7-day cedar GnRH, our 7-day cedar co-sync, we're giving 2 shots of GnRH. That's Cisterel and Fertigale Factrel. All those products are listed at the very beginning. This shot's usually not very effective. The shot back here is the one that we're avoiding when we put the patch on. Okay, and so in our system, down the 5-day PG cedar, this GnRH that's over here at the fixed timed AI, if we put a patch on, 75 to 80% of them will be in heat. And you don't, if that patch is red, you do not have to give GnRH. And don't let anybody tell you differently. Okay, I'm hundreds of thousands of cows I've bred. You do not have to give GnRH when the patch is red. If it's gray, you have to give GnRH if you want any chance to get them bred. And so I use the patch to replace the GnRH that we have here. Okay.
You know what that percentage is, like if the patch isn't rubbed and you AI them anyway, give them the GnRH, what's the chance?
Yeah, absolutely. So normally you'll pick up 40% of the ones that are not in heat. So if we have 100 cows, we get 80 of them in heat, we got 20 left, we'll pick up 8 pregnancies. I hope my math is right there. It's just on the fly math. But 40% is usually what that is, okay? And what the really funny thing is for me with math is that if you just bred everything that came in heat and you didn't breed the other ones, your conception rate, is really good and your efficiency is good, but you actually gain a few pregnancies with fixed timed AI because your conception rate is a little bit below because you're not breeding everything exactly perfectly, but you gain 40% of the ones that were not in heat. And so you end up with the exact same number of pregnant females, whether you're checking heat or not, which to me is pretty important because we don't have time to check heat. Now, if you're all using the cow manager, you do. Because all you got to do is you get an alert on your phone, go breed the cow. Okay? I mean, that's the one cool thing about the new technologies now is it takes a lot. I mean, that thing it's for estrus detection, it's nearly 100% accurate. This is a tag. You're going to see these tags in their ears. Okay? This sends out a radial signal. It's picked up by a router. That router sends it to the computer. Okay? Goes up in the online, goes all the way to the Netherlands and back, and you get an alert on your phone. For estrus detection, highly accurate, particularly in this situation, better than actually watching heat. That's hard for people to wrap their head around, but it is more accurate than you sitting out there watching. In pasture situations, we find the exact same thing. The problem with pastures is you got to be pretty smart in where you place the routers, particularly if you're rotationally grazing and moving cattle around. You got to have the routers that follow them. And it'll shoot up to a mile from a router to the coordinator. So getting it to the Wi-Fi is not a problem most of the time. Now it might be here, if
lots of trees and hills.
A lot of trees, and maybe you're running cows down here and whatever, and you don't have great line of sight. But these are really kind of cool little toys. We find really good correlations with grazing time, but in cattle in confinement, the only thing we get out of it is parturition and estrus detection. The rest of the information is garbage when cattle are in confinement. But our goal here is to see them come in heat and verify they're pregnant, and it's nearly 100% accurate on that. Okay? Questions? I went quick. Okay, cost. So this tag, the tag itself costs you $35. Okay, then they're going to want to put you on a plan. Okay, a monthly plan. For the most part, you can wrap all that up it's about $40 to $50 a cow a year for the tag. Then you got to buy the router. Okay, so this goes up to the router. The router goes, so you got to have a router. You got to have another one at the computer, and those are $400 a piece, but they're yours forever. Okay, we've got a lot of ours on solar panels because we don't have electricity everywhere. That we've got these poles. That's going to cost you a little bit more. I think those are $1,500-$1,600 for the whole unit.
You get your routers plugged into solar panels. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yep. Sorry, Arch. Yep, that's what I meant. So, I mean, like down here, we could do either one. I mean, there's electricity down there, so we might be able to get an outlet put in at some point in time, so we can just plug a router in, and we don't have to have a solar panel. But we can also put a solar panel up there, and we'll be in good shape. In semi-confinement, and Dr. Van Zandt did this work for pregnancy prediction. Okay, they're calving now. It was 90% accurate and 90% precise. And if you combine that with the camera, so if you get an alert and then you jump on the camera, oh yeah, she's calving. Okay, I mean if you're in so that where he proved that was in Bourbon County where they had a calving lot. It wasn't a calving barn; it was a calving lot. Okay, so 3-4 acre deal where we were able to easily cover everything, and he was pulling cattle in, and they were just calving in that, and then he was taking them out in their post calving pastures. Extremely accurate. Tom Moore, the guy up there, he's got he was an old dairyman, 4 big tie stall barns, and then 50 acres they had access to at some parts of the year, but mainly he was confinement. He said it was 100%. It wasn't 100%, but he claimed it was.
Is there a way to reuse the tag off of an animal so you sell a cow? Is there a way to safely remove that tag and put in a new one?
Yep, absolutely. You link it, you delink it, you relink it, you just change the tag in there.
You don't have to just cut them out.
Nope. And the batteries in here will last 5 years, and as long as you stay with the company, they'll just send you another one. You know, when the battery runs down. I mean, they literally just send you another one. I've used it since 2018 for our work. The repro stuff is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Been a little disappointed in other stuff, but we currently have a project going on where we brought cattle in from Montana. So these are cattle that are genetically completely naive of fescue. Okay, and what are we going to do with them? We're going to put them on fescue. And so we got Ruma watches, are these halters, okay, that very accurately predicts grazing and activity. We have rumen boluses in them that give us body temperature and activity. And we have cow managers in them. So we are going to know exactly how those cattle are going to respond to E+ and E- environments and our heat stress. And so that'll be really interesting to be able to compare those other two technologies with the cow manager technology in understanding how cattle behave and how because what we want to do is identify tolerant cattle, right? That's what we want to do. And then we find markers in those gene markers in those tolerant cattle so that we can use that in our genotypes to help control the phenotypes that we get, right? That's the ultimate goal. But anyway, that'll be an interesting use of this technology. And otherwise, let's go put patches on, put cedars in, and everybody gets to take home a bag of cedars today.
I need a little bit of lube. Okay, and we're set to go. Usually a pretty good idea to have a jug of water too, or flip it and dry it before we put a cedar in. A lot of times what I'll do when I'm putting cedars in is I'll just
stuff to shoot full minus 1 cow so that I have a little space. And I go from the front and work back, and as I go back, they come forward. So I'll put this one in, do the next one. That's what I'd normally do with this, okay? Otherwise, get your paper towel, grab the tail, wipe off the vulva, point it up, go over that ridge, slide forward. When you get to the cervix, push the plunger, pull out, tail's pointed down. I'll always wipe it off, clean it off.
That wasn't bad for you first time.
Dry it off, ready for the next cedar. I always wear gloves. I was a little cavalier about it before because the hormone won't bother us, but you can actually get sick from cattle. Rare, but the veterinarian in Taylor County died 2 or 3 years ago from a disease he picked up working some clients' cattle. Over the 27 or 8 years I've been here, I know 2 or 3 other people that have gotten really, really, really sick. And so I just take the precaution. I know where these cattle came from. I know that they're not sick and all that stuff. But still, I mean, it's just a glove. I'm not going to take a chance, right? And so, open for you guys to put cedars and everything else.
And what we're going to do is they'll come out and they're going to come right back down through here. So we're going to have all you guys come up on this side.
Then
You can just come through this, come over on this side and come up through this gate.
the heat patches. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the heat patch on. Heat patches are going to go on the high part of the tail head. Not way back here, but you're going to be right here. And they're going to go side to side, not front and back. They're going to go side to side, right over the middle. Put them in, push them down. So that chest is going to catch it right there. If I'm up a little bit further, it'll still catch it, just not as well if I'm way back here. Okay? That moves a lot, and you don't get as stable a foundation is right there. Okay? So we're going to put the heat patch on, put the cedar in. Good to go.
Look at her. Give us a body condition score on her too. Everybody got a body condition score on this one?
All right, so let's move the table back.
We're gonna move the table first. I know Chase will move the table.
If anybody wants to put them in, here they are. There's the gloves. Here's the cedars. Just,
And you already cleaned it.
yep, it's clean. Good. So tail goes in.
All the way.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect. Just dip it down in there. Paper towels. No. We want it. Paper towels for the vulva.
Okay.
Good. So you're gonna point it up first. Get over that ridge. Feel that ridge there?
Yeah.
Gotta get over that ridge. So sometimes we gotta shake it just a little bit. There it goes. All the way down. Push the plunger. Pull it out. Good to go. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Anybody want to do the heat patch? Here, while you're at it. While you're at it. Ooh. Yeah, let's stick to your glove.
You said put it here.
Yeah, a little bit further up. Like right there. There you go. Perfect. Thank you.
I don't see her.
Body condition on her? Yeah, I go 6 on her.
Six.
Yep.
You're not the biggest Kentucky.
She just full.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Yes. She's fatter than a 6.
She actually looks pregnant.
Yeah, she does.
She's full. You see how full she was? Oop.
How old are these?
18.
Okay.
Perfect.
There you go.
V's approved. V's approved. Hey, we gotta get a sticker on her. I'll wash it if you'll put the sticker on. Perfect. Yeah. There you go. Good. Perfect. Perfect. Oh, here's the paper towel right here. I had one second ago. Wipe the vulva, and then we're gonna have the back bottom end tip down for the first couple inches. There you go. Pull up. Feel it go over that ridge. All right. Push it all the way down until it stops going. Push the plunger. You got lucky. You got manure all over you.
It's all right.
Just another day.
I'll clean it if you put the patch on her. Oh, it's clean anyway. At the Baldy, I had her at the Baldy at the 7.
It's kind of hard to tell where to put it. 7's kind of humped up right there.
That's what I had her as.
It's tough to thump up. That's why I moved that back.
Got to point down for the first 2 or 3 inches. There you go. That level and go to the hilt. Push the plunger. Yeah, there you go. Just turn it down. There you go. Good. Heat patch coming up here before. Yeah, I'm going to do agents both in the east and the west, and then I'll have producers in the east. Yeah, at Woodford and down at Princeton. Well, it'll either be at Princeton or the Murray. Murray's got a pretty good facility to have them at.
When you say it was for agency, when did you think it would be?
It'll be middle of October.
Well, when in Woodford County, I started
Yep.
back.
Woodford County, yep.
It was, what was it, $400?
I don't remember. I
I'm
don't
good
remember.
down here, Ray.